battle over extensions to St Francis Xavier's College has been going on for the past 18 months. The local residents are still adamant that the extensions of the regional school will have a detrimental effect on them. They say that although legally the school is entitled to extend, morally the action is questionable. The latest battle is over technology law. In 1985, the college will offer its students automotive and food technology courses, among other new subjects, and it's these that are causing the problem. Voice being used instead of 16 automotive technology rooms, and as a result, the building facing 11 Skelton Street East have to be brought up another story, making the large windows of the food technology rooms a sore point. The residents and the administration say that the area is zoned residential, and therefore the new height of the windows will be an invasion of privacy. But as the director of the Capital Education Office in Newcastle wants to St
property adjacent to the proposed building.
Surrounding unoccupied houses.
The restrictions on development are related to a property adjacent to the proposed building, and that's a property that we own. So in a sense, I think the administration is trying to protect us from ourselves.
Monsignor Coonahan went on to say that the administration's decision will disadvantage students in the long term. The Catholic Education Office says it's placed the matter with its solicitors, so the next hearing on extensions to St Francis Xavier College will be in the Land and Environment Court.
Australia's latest sporting hero and Newcastle's pride and joy, Bob Holland, returned home last night, tired but elated by his performance in the fifth test.
I'm very thrilled about it, of course. To play in an Australian side firstly is a great thrill to me, and then to win a test match and to be part of the win, you know, I'm ecstatic about it.
Well, what's left for you to achieve?
Oh, well, there's plenty of cricket to be played yet this summer. There's the one-day games, which I've been left out of the first side there, but I may get a game later in the series there. There's plenty of Sheffield Shield games to go. There's one in Newcastle on the 17th of January against Tasmania, and then later in the season hopefully New South Wales will play in the final. And then at the end of the season there's a trip for some players to England with the Australian side.
How disappointed are you that you weren't selected for the single-day matches?
I'm a little disappointed. I would like to have been in the side. Only one of the two spinners would play, I knew that, and Murray Bennett played in the test in Melbourne, so I thought that he would get the chance initially in these games. Later in the series I may get a game, but you know, I'm looking forward to getting a game in those at some stage.
And what are your long-term plans? You're in a prime position for the test series against England.
Yeah, well, as I was saying, there's a lot of cricket to be played and a lot of things can happen over the next 2 months before that touring side is selected. I'll be hoping that I can put together some more useful performances and be there at the end when the side is chosen.
After his performance against the West Indies, there's little doubt that that's exactly where Bob Holland will be. And there's some consolation. Despite being left out of the Australian squad for the first two World Series one-day cricket matches, he has been selected, along with other players, to form a squad to travel to New Zealand to play in a one-day match against Wellington this Sunday.
Over 450 members of the AFULE attended yesterday's meeting. Despite the union recommendation for a return to work at midnight last night to allow further negotiations to go ahead with the authorities, the vote was not unanimous. According to a union spokesman, discussion of the State Rail Authority's 50-50 manning levy proposal created tension.
We've calculated today that under the SRA manning proposal there are 16 different rostering systems, mixtures of enginemen and guards if it was to proceed, and we don't think it's workable.
And the union says it will not budge from its bottom line, that although they have no objection to the presence of a guard in the van, that second person must be trained as a driver. The meeting passed a union recommendation for officers to call further meetings if and when required. An application by the union dealing with coverage of employees performing
functions on locomotives is also due to go before the Arbitration Commission in February.
This is Brad Furman on his way to winning the race of Torres biathlon in late October last year. He said then that he had his sights set firmly on the Coolangatta gold. Tomorrow, Furman gets his big chance to prove himself in the quicker foot and the strong field. Late today, bookmakers quoted Furman's chances of winning the grueling 42-kilometre event at 20-1. Favourite is defending champion Manly's Guy Leach, ahead of Grant Kenny's Houston Stars, Southport pair of Lawrence Reed and Mark Bennett, and Manly's Craig Whittington. However, from Newcastle's point of view, Brad Fernley will be the man to beat from 7 o'clock in the morning when the Coolangatta Gold gets underway with a 21-kilometre ski paddle from surface to Coolangatta Beach.
Member. Others snapping at Houston's stern were Toronto's Terry Curwood in Lindy Lou, Gary Bruniges in Dad's Lads, and Dean Blatchford in Saltwater Wine. In a highly skillful exhibition of sailing this afternoon, Peter Hewson in OD crossed the line first to win the national title. Lindy Lou was next home, followed by Saltwater Wine. A fine treble to the Toronto club, now the undisputed home of 505 champions.
Sometime between 1:30 and 6 o'clock this morning, thieves broke into and stole a white Tirana car parked outside these Housing Commission flats in Hamilton. While the thieves probably didn't realise it, the theft literally broke the hearts of one invalid pensioner and more than 20 youngsters who are dependent on that car for a holiday they've been planning for almost a year.
The pensioner is 53-year-old Alan Clark, who spends all his time running the Newcastle Junior Fishing Clinic. According to Alan, he used to bring sleep and dreams to the fishing clinic. In short, he says it's his life. The 20 youngsters are members of the club who've been working all year to prepare themselves and the equipment for a week away training and fishing. That week is due to start next Monday. That was until Alan's car was stolen this morning. The holiday can't go ahead without the car. Alan was due to start transporting the club's boats to the campsite this weekend, a task he says can't be done without the car. Then there was the task of transporting the 20 youngsters to the campsite, also a task that can't be done without the car. Alan says the holiday can't go ahead unless
I'm extremely angry over it. I'm very upset about it. Not so much from the point of view myself, the disappointment that comes to my wife and I not being denied the vehicle, but the fact that the vehicle is being denied to the children.
Bench of the Arbitration Commission on Thursday to have the starting date of two-man crews on coal trains delayed. The Train Drivers Union and NBN tried to have the date deferred from the 1st of February for 1 month. After their application, the union will taking effect from midnight tonight, and a meeting of Hunter Valley members is scheduled tomorrow morning. Already the union's Vice President, Mr Bill Stannard, says it's reasonable to assume the drivers will stay out, and he says if this happens, the strike may spread nationwide. Meanwhile, the coal industry is bracing itself for another extended strike. The Newcastle manager of the New South Wales Coal Association, Mr Rod Harrison, says valuable contracts will be lost if the drivers vote to stay out.
Every day shipments are not made, $5 million in revenue is lost, and that lost revenue cannot be made up.
Meanwhile, in an attempt to meet coal demand, a maximum road lift has been underway all weekend and will continue tomorrow. Has moved in by rail.
May not quite have been a fanfare, but family and friends were there to welcome the sailors home. Despite the rough ride this year, Peter Rundle and Ralph Talia hope to go again. How bad was it? Sitting back here getting the radio reports and pictures that looked to be horrific out there, actually.
Well, it's amazing how quickly your memory dims, Lee, but it was very rough the first couple of days. It was a full gale at sea, and that's fairly rough.
Ralph, the roughest you've ever experienced in your travels on yachts?
Perhaps not the roughest, but the most uncomfortable. The seas were had virtually no backs on them, and the wind and the tidal conditions tend to build them up a little.
Did you ever think that you were ever going to have to turn back? Many yachts pulled out, didn't they? It must have been dreadful.
Yeah, the only time I did think that was when the stay fell out of the mast. That's the only time it entered my mind, and I was very worried that we'd lose the mast. And I was lucky to have Stephen here that was prepared to climb the mast and fix the job up, and I'm very grateful for that.
My family, or my generation, is only a few years removed from the apes, and I didn't find it too much trouble at all.
You'd certainly be concentrating on what you were doing, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I was. It was just like holding on to the end of a fishing pole, whipping round, but, I just had a job and did it.
On the inside, away they go. Miller got away nicely. Watson was just a little bit slow. Peter Carr went quickly too. Look at Watson going high around the outside of Carr. But the leader is Rick Miller, only on sufferance, I think. Watson on the outside, Carr on the inside. Look at Watson go! He's got it wound right on, and the local boys Watson out in front now. Second place is Rick Miller. Take that, you fellows, says the local boy Chris Watson, and he's gone to the lead. He wanted to win one of these races against the internationals, and he's out there and he's doing it in grand style. Give him all the support you possibly can. Watson's down in front, followed then by the United States rider Rick Miller. Then comes Peter Carr. These are fellas with world experience, mind you, riding First Division League in England, but it doesn't matter. Watson's all over him, and Watson's first. Watson for second place goes to Miller, third place goes to Carr. All very, very...
About 10,000 people have flocked to the International Sports Centre during the past 2 days to see the Rough Riders in action. Today, championship events in bull riding, calf roping, steer wrestling, saddle bronc and team roping left the crowd hollering for more. The Steel City Pro Rodeo is the first to be held in Newcastle in 40 years, and thanks to the enthusiastic response it's received, organisers anticipate it becoming an annual event. And it's not only cowboys who get in on the act. 16 women participated in the ladies' barrel race today, while people of all ages came to watch and cheer the contestants on.
The Newcastle Rugby Club Committee finalised discussions with the builders Leighton Constructors today, and with all the details out of the way, there was nothing left to do but sign the contract for this $2.5 million link stand and the refurbishment of the existing public and members grandstands. Patrons will still be able to walk under the new stand to get a trackside view, and the two glassed-in stories above will provide air-conditioned punters. NJC Committee Chairman Mr Roy Marnie says the stand should be completed by September this year.
Well, the present buildings on the Broadmeadow Racecourse were put up in the very early part of the century, and they needed updating to conform with modern race day amenities. So it was time the Newcastle Jockey Club did something, and this is the form that we decided to do it.
And where's the money coming from?
It's coming from the Racecourse Development Committee over a period of 5 years.
Only breaking the law by bringing the dogs into the beach, whether it's on a leash or not. Mr John Lemisurier from the Health Department says the administration has been inundated with complaints from the public about dogs spoiling cows and causing havoc on the city's beaches.
Dogs are prohibited from the beaches and the bars and along the public reserves associated therewith.
Mr Lemisurier says there have been many reports of dog attacks on the beaches, and it's shocking that one woman was unable to get out of the water because of attack of vicious canines. Catching these dogs and their owners has proved to be a problem because of a manpower shortage. Newcastle only has 2 dog catchers, and although they are working in the early morning, late evening as well as weekends, they haven't been able to solve the problem. But remember, it is against the law, and unless you obey the signs, this may happen to you.
Excuse me, fellas, I'm the Council Health Inspector. Who owns the dog? Do you know it's an offence for a dog to be on the beach? It's a $200 fine, so will you please take your dog off the beach straight away?
Although the 250 members from the 3 public service unions were angered by the Arbitration Commission's rejection of their 8.3% wage plan, they voted not to go on strike. Instead, they imposed a number of bans and limitations. Perhaps the most annoying ban for the government will be the members' refusal to collect revenue. The government has threatened the unions with stand-downs during the industrial campaign. But Steve Volk from the Australian Clerical Officers Association says the members are determined.
We're very strong, as was shown at the meeting today, and I'm sure will be shown at the meetings in other centres. We're very determined that the decision should be overturned because it's such a poor decision. There's no logic in it. It's very unfair to public servants. We're being paid enormously below where we should be paid in terms of where we always have been paid in the past, and we're determined to have the decision overturned.
Mr Bolt says if there are stand-downs, his members may consider strike action. but he says that will probably be the only inconvenience to the public.
There might be some minor inconvenience caused, but our main aim is to dry up the government's sources of revenue. If we can do that without harming the public at all, then we'd be happy to do that. Hopefully it won't have any effect at all beyond disrupting the government's finances.